from Sound Mind Studio, it's the Songwriters Lounge. That sounds very official, doesn't
it? Yeah, oh, absolutely. I didn't even think it was you.
No, it was me. It was totally me right then.
Don Pardo.
On the Don Pardo speaking, live from the Songwriters Lounge. Welcome in, Jimmy McDermott.
Yeah, that's
erin23.
That's the moniker, the musical moniker.
Right on, right on. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for being here.
Likewise, thank you.
So, my wife's maiden name is McDermott.
Is that true?
It is, yes. And I was trying to see if I was gonna try to figure out after the fact if somehow you're related because you McDermotts are all nuts.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
True.
And, I've I'm dangerously related to almost every Irish person out there. So
right.
The fact that she has my name is.
I've had an up close and personal
pretty much a guarantee.
Look at that world, and
yeah.
I know it's entailed.
Yeah.
So, but
sure.
that's I found that to be funny when I read that, and then you and I met at O'Neill's like last year.
Yeah.
And and I've seen you at a bunch of places and here and there, and we've sort of done this a bunch of times and that a bunch of times.
Yes.
And so having you on the show is I'm very happy to finally get to know you a little bit more clearly and understand a little bit more now. I do remember for those of you who are new, please like and subscribe. That you're supposed to say that, and then there's supposed to be some sort of a bell or something that goes off.
Well, you used your announcer voice for that too. So
please like and subscribe. Yeah. I went to an open mic a while ago, and there was a guy, and he had a voice. He had like a pitch correction thing on on his announcer thing, and then when you went up to talk to him, his voice was like an octave higher. it was like that's hilarious. I was like, wait a minute, you don't sound like that at all. And he was wearing an entire. His outfit was looked like the slice of pepperoni pizza. So
like he was a suit with a print on it, or he was dressed like as
like a suit with a print,
okay.
But the latter would have been great too. But no, all the print on his, he had pants and a shirt, like button shirt, and it was all the same sort of like, kind of brown cheese with pieces of pepperoni. It was clearly a pepperoni pizza outfit.
No mistaking it.
No, none whatsoever. But like I said, it was really funny. He talked into the microphone, and then when it was my turn, I went up, and then he comes off the microphone, and he's like, yeah, man. And you're like, which I'm exaggerating clearly, but like it was really funny. Like as soon as I got a load
like
of
reverse helium.
Yeah, it was really funny. So all right, and if you folks want to chat, I can see that the Jimmy Lanuts guy, we can't get rid of him. I don't know what his deal is. We got a couple yays and a howdy.
Howdy.
But I can read those, but I'm too far away. That looks like Angus. It looks like the Jimmy Lanuts guy. I'm going to get him one of these days. He's like Bart Simpson. It's like when Bart Simpson would call the bar. I don't know who that guy is. Anyways, one of these days.
Amanda Hug and Kiss.
That's right. And let's see. So thank you guys for tuning in. Now, how long have you... Have you been a musician your whole life?
No, not at all.
No.
No, I was in a band in high school, and I was lead vocalist, and I didn't play anything. I've picked up the guitar at multiple points in my life, and always just when I feel like I'm getting proficient with chord changes, then I'll set it down and not touch it for years and years.
Sure, that's what we all do.
But I never really got to a point where I was comfortable playing in front of anybody until. It wasn't a matter of comfort. I just made myself do it,
right?
And so during pandemic, I started picking up a baritone ukulele again because it's the instrument I had at home. Which, when my daughter was very young, we were living in the city, and I took her to Old Town School of Folk Music, and there was a class. It was a Wiggleworms kind of like more advanced class, I suppose, if you could call it that. Where the adults would actually play. You purchased a baritone ukulele and you learned to play that like as an entree to guitar, while the kids messed around with like percussion instruments and basically just socialize.
That's actually a really good idea because it entertains the kids, but it gives you the opportunity to learn.
It was very cool, but it was it was distracting because the kids were
no
just all over the place. So you weren't getting much done in the class, but it was an exposure, and it
You probably got more done than you think, though.
yeah,
Like,
oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, it was the time of day I had to like force myself through these chord changes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was and so I just had the baritone ukulele kind of around from that era during pandemic, and then I was just like, I just want to learn how to play. I gave myself the goal of saying I'm going to learn how to play 100 songs. Just songs that I love, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
so just a really small goal.
Nothing that I
Only 100?
Well, I wanted.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I wanted it to be
underachiever.
I wanted it to be a thing. I wanted to have a repertory of like 100 songs I was familiar with, and that I like I'd bust out at parties I'm not going to. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was like, it was but it really was.
Have
just
you
for,
have you used that line?
No.
Okay,
No,
that's very good.
That was in the moment. And so I was, I just was learning a bunch of songs, just ultimate guitar and just, just futzing around with that and just trying to, but, I was through that kind of, I was osmosing like song structure and things like that. And,
Boy, you're blowing my mind. Osmosing? Did you know that was a word? Because I didn't know that was a word.
Well, it's not often in its verb form. It's all,
Right.
Yeah,
like,
but, yeah.
That's good. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
No, not at all.
okay,
No,
keep
no,
going.
yeah,
Never
no,
mind. I was very interested. I
impress
just
you
got hung up on that.
I'll impress you with $2 words.
This might have been a $5 word.
No. Not enough syllables. So anyway, sorry. So
okay.
I was playing these songs, and then it got to be about like early 2023. I thought I want to do something with these. Do you know what I mean? Just rather than just being on my couch. And then so I started going to a very local open mic. And just really liked it. Dug the host and liked the vibe, and it was really.
Now, which one was that?
This was it was very short lived. It was Tierra Distillery in Clarendon Hills. They only did it.
Sounds fancy.
Fewer than a year. Well, no, it was strange. It was a nice little venue because it's a distillery, and then they had this upstairs kind of lounge, and it was up in the lounge, and it was and the host was really great.
But it got your feet wet. It got you doing
exactly.
it.
And then so I was doing covers, and then I just and then there were people at the open mic that were doing originals, and I admired the fact that they were doing it. And so I heard some really good people, and I heard people who were not quite as proficient doing it. And so but it was clear to me, it was like, I could at least do that. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
that's
and then
that's the whole thing is the whole point of this, and because I know that we talked a little bit, you said you've watched a few episodes that like what I try to encourage, if somebody clicked on this episode and this was the first one, is that it doesn't matter, like somebody like me, I've been writing songs for 40 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm any good at it. It just means I have like I've done it a long time.
Oh yeah.
And even if you just started it at whatever point in your life, you can write a song. And it's your song, and it's yours to write any way you want, and it doesn't matter, and then you don't have to be like, you keep that one, you file it away, and you keep building, you keep writing songs, and then eventually you go back and you look at the ones that you wrote back then, and you realize, oh wow, I've developed this skill. I've learned how to do this better. I might have done this differently then.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean, I've been at it 3 years, and I can even say that there are things I wrote in the first year that I would just not,
But here's what
go about it that way.
Here's the big secret, though.
Yeah.
You might come back to it in 10 years and go, that's better than I thought it was.
Yeah, but I have noticed that too. Actually, last month I did this thing where for February I posted an original song each day just on Instagram and then and on Substack too, because I've always considered this, when I started writing, I was like, this is, it feels more like a writing project to me. And I have a little bit of a writing background, not much, but, always been, into $2 words.
Right.
But it's like, so.
You're using your brain on it.
Yeah. But I also realized, I was writing more than poetry. The melody is very much a part of what's happening. I don't think these words exist apart from them. I mean, they could, in some context, but not in the way I mean to express them, of course. So it's the but at the same time, I approached it like a literary project, because that's closer to my background than anything having to do with musicianship or the music industry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, but that's okay. Now, I asked you. I remember hearing the story to Erin23 because he's not Aaron. Aaron is somebody else. He's Jimmy McDermott.
Yes.
But so Erin23. Now I do like I mentioned earlier. I do vaguely remember the story, but I don't remember the details. So so fill me in on what the name comes from.
Sure thing. Well, I mean, I guess I'll give some context as to why I use that name. Is that I used to work in another art form, and this is not to save anyone's confusion. This is simply for me to kind of slate like that part of my life and you know that art form from this, which is a very different pursuit. So in that way, it gives me like a tiny bit, like a little sliver, like a thin veil of like anonymity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I found that to be kind of freeing. And really, it's just for up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I know exactly what you mean.
So you know, I thought, you know, what can I use to kind of slate that? And the thing that popped to mind was my sister, my late sister, when she was very young, like in first grade, she was assigned. Her name is Erin. Was Erin, E-R-I-N, and she in first grade she was assigned a student number. Mm-hmm. Like that you had to address all your worksheets with and label everything that you did with your first name and your student number. Mm-hmm. So her name was erin23. Mm-hmm. And my twin sister, her twin sister, who was in the same class with her, was, because it went by last name, she was Colleen22. So it was Colleen22 and Erin23. Erin was a very organized person, even as a very small child, and also a very possessive person. So she would label everything, much like Dave did his music stand that you mentioned over there. So and so she would label everything in the house that was hers, Erin23. So that was like just it was a little, you know, piece of like text that was like.
Okay, I only remembered. I remembered pieces of that story. And it was your sister who was no longer with us, and that it was from when she was small. But I didn't remember the part where she labeled everything.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
I may have not told that part, but that's really that's why it sticks in our memory.
Sure.
And my sister and I, you know, will always we'll always remember it as such. And she would, you know, it's the type of thing like when she got email addresses or like.
Right.
Had to do it. Pick a number for anyone.
It was just a thing forever.
Number 23. I mean, most people think of Michael Jordan, but I think of my sister.
Sure.
So there you go.
Well, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, what? So that was your first ukulele. That story you told about. That was the first instrument you had.
Yeah. Well, no, I did have a guitar growing up. And,
okay.
And that I, you know, again that I like picked up and put down and you know, for most of its life it collected.
Now, do you remember the first concert you ever went to? That you paid, like that, not just that you went to, that you bought.
I remember watching this, seeing the specificity of this question in previous episodes. So, so I had thought about that a little bit, but it is between two things because I think the first thing that I went to see that was my idea to see was Iron Maiden, and I believe my mom made me pay for it out of my own allowance, so
right.
It wasn't really my own money.
Sure, no, but it
was
it counts.
But I think, but that just as easily couldn't have been the case. But it was my parents' style to be like, you know, and I remember it was like a $15 or an $18 ticket, and this was like 1987, and my mom was like. Just balked at the cost. She was like, she couldn't believe.
Who would pay $18 to go to a concert?
And I was like, well, Mom, they got inflatables. There's a giant monster up there. You see the money on stage.
Right.
You know?
It's obvious what they're spending the money on. They're not just putting it in their pockets.
No, they're not just plugging in. There's production value. Mom, Eddie. And she was like, so I remember.
Did that work? It must have.
So to that end, I think she was like, "You're paying at least for some of this." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would.
But the one that I do remember, like I scrounged the money together, and I had to buy it through a scalper too because it sold out too quickly. Was I went to see the Who on the 20th anniversary of Tommy.
Which
so
was
it's
at
like,
Alpine Valley? Were you around here?
No, I lived in South.
Okay.
I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in South Florida. So I was down in. So yeah, I saw them at what was then Joe Robbie Stadium, but is now where the Dolphins play.
So what?
Or maybe not.
Tommy
anymore.
come out in '69, so was that '89?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was the summer of '89.
Because I saw him in '89 at Alpine Valley.
Yeah. Same tour. Yeah, it was the same tour. And they hadn't toured together, I think, since the early '80s too. So it was a really big deal that they were.
Right.
It
was their final tour, I believe. It was like their third final tour. I think they had like 7 final tours.
Yes. I mean, I remember feeling like that was there was an urgency to it. That I was like, they'll never get back together again. I got to see this.
Pete Townsend was going deaf.
Yes.
That was the big news.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was very much the case. So you didn't know. You felt like this was like a fleeting opportunity.
I had the same feeling. So whatever marketing genius came up with that, it worked on both of us.
Yeah. Well, it was, and that was just when I started really coming online about I had been like a metalhead kid in like middle school and like first year of high school, and then I started really looking more into like what the roots of their influences were far more, and then just really getting into artists from 60s and 70s at that point. So that's when I started to get into kind of
classic rock was a pretty big deal in the late 80s.
Yeah. Every radio station was that essentially kind of in the 80s.
And it was either like hair metal y stuff or classic rock.
Yes.
But all that was the catalyst. Yeah. That combination of the two was the catalyst for grunge.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Well, and well, I mean, I always attribute like it was the meeting of those things. It was metal, classic rock, and a slice of punk in there too. So that's what I always thought was interesting about like that arrival point. Was
right, because they were mad at both of the metal people and the classic rock people,
exactly.
anyways. Because they was me. I was part of it.
Well, but growing up, but coming, but having like an '80s sort of like well, the arrival of MTV when I was like first aware of that, so at first MTV was just the most fascinating prism of anything I had ever seen. You know what I mean? And so like everything that was on MTV, I was obsessed with.
Did you watch Live Aid all day long in the middle of summer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I was at my father, lived in another state, and I would go visit him for like a month in the summer. Yes. And on that day, I sat in the house and watched Live Aid all day. And my dad from that generation. Yeah. What the hell are you doing? Yes. It's what was it, middle of June or something? Yeah. It's the middle of June, and you're sitting in a dark room at 2:00 in the afternoon, inside the house. What's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing's wrong. This is an amazing thing. It's just the dumb. No, you need to go outside. I'm like, I'm not going.
This concert's outside.
Right. They're outside. It kind of counts. No, it doesn't. This from the guy that listened to Bob Seger 8 tracks in the garage. So
your dad did?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Live Aid was too much for him?
It was. Oh. It really was. He was like, you can't spend all day doing this. An hour or two maybe, but this is I'm like,
I thought you were going to tell me that you were out of state visiting your dad and you saw Phil Collins perform in the morning, and then you went back to another state in the evening and then saw Phil Collins perform in the evening.
It's a much better story. That's what I'm going to use next time.
He was on the Concorde.
Yeah. That was the whole bit. Yeah. Now, do you have a song for the folks? Why don't we?
I do.
Why don't we start with your first one and let us know what it is?
We'll start with I call this one Bubblegum Agitprop, and it's called Charm School.
Okay, wait. Bubblegum
Agitprop. Agitated propaganda.
Were you a Scrabble player or something? Is that what this is?
I'm really shitty at Scrabble. I'm sorry, the network censor.
Just keep going.
No, I'm terrible at Scrabble. My wife is great because she gets into the corners and like maximizes the points.
It just seems like you have these.
Yeah, but I never. But like the opportunity to use words that I know in Scrabble, you're always short like a couple vowels.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's a great song title, and I wanted to make sure it was right. And then it's just
it's the genre of song. The song's called Charm School.
Okay.
So, Can't get by on charm, but I'll sure die trying. Working for the railroad If I ever live long enough to retire, beholden to the shareholder, just my luck, spoken like a broken record, spun backwards, set to 33 RPM, up to drunken stockbrokers. Lucky us, can't get by on charm, but I'll sure die trying. Hustle for a piece of paper, run the numbers till this dust bowl blows on through, hunted by a paper tiger. Rotten luck, better work the corner, or you're bound to leave the ones you love to starve off to California. Lucky break, can't get by on charm, but I'll sure die trying. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Let me bum a smoke from you. Tell me if you know which side won the war. Rough enough to seek refuge. Lucky strike, do you got a light on you? Tell me if you know which side won the war. Rough enough to seek refuge. Make your luck, can't get by on charm, but I'll sure die trying. Can't get by on charm, but I'll sure die trying. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Lucky charm, hope your luck dried up. Lucky us. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
It was awesome. The live fade out and everything.
Yeah. It's a little trick when you're playing in a noisy bar and you do that, and then you actually capture people's attention for a little bit.
Yes.
And it's like, so I like to do that, particularly if I'm like leading into a song that I want them to listen to, I'll do that one first. So
Yeah.
primes it for it.
Well, and that's a.
But I did mess up several of the lyrics. So.
Well, you're true fans. The 1,000 true fans, they know.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
the rest of us, strangers, we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 8,000 people watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's everything's times 1,000. So you know.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that conversion chart.
That was really great. You have a you have a Neil Diamond-esque voice. Has anybody told you that? Like that's in the best possible way. I'm a fan. There's a Neil Diamond record in that stack over there.
I saw that. Nobody's told me that, but I am conscious of it.
Yeah.
And you know,
Like that was great.
I like how his voice cuts, and
Yeah.
so I don't consciously try to imitate him.
No.
Although I when I sang, when I was an actor, and or when I sang,
Wait.
I was
All right, so finish that thought, and we're going to go back to that. So go ahead.
but I when I was younger, I was very much a tenor voice, and then and now, like, my voice is descending a little bit, and I still sing more or less in a tenor range, but I can but I'm dipping into a lower range now, and it sounds more and more like Neil Diamond every year.
Well, I did in the best possible way. Now, just to back up a little, like what, Broadway films,
No.
Oscar winning?
No.
But your reference caught my ear.
I studied acting, in college, and was an actor, like, since I was, like, in middle school, like, in local theater and stuff like that growing up. And I was pursuing an acting career, but then I actually, in grad school, I switched from an acting track to a directing track, so I directed plays for a really long time, and that was much more my concentration. But
okay, so that answers the other question, which you sort of like you had an existence as an artist in that world, and so okay, that's interesting. Now, I once, when I was of college age, I already had a job, but all my friends were going to college, so like I didn't really go to college, but I spent a lot of time at colleges.
Sure.
And one of my friends was going to Columbia in Chicago, and Columbia shares the dorm with Roosevelt and the Art Institute. At least it did in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then later on, we had this this loft space. It was 1100 Wolfram Avenue on the north side of Chicago.
Neat.
And for a couple years, they lived there, and there were two painters. And then my friend, was studying music stuff.
Yeah.
Whether production or film. He started as film. But we had this giant space, and we would have these like artist kind of parties where, and I might even reference. I think we referenced it with Chuck. My friend Chuck was here, where we taped we duct taped a guy to the wall, like he stood on a chair, and then we had several rolls of duct tape, and everybody got pieces of tape, and we taped him to the point where we thought maybe he would stick, and then we removed the chair, and he stuck, and then we left him there for like an hour, and he would be like, I need a cigarette, and then somebody would go put a cigarette in his mouth, but then
you didn't even have the decency to pelt him with anything?
No, heck no. He was a great. But then with that group of people, I was part of a group of musicians that wrote an original score to The Elephant Man at Roosevelt University.
Oh, a stage production.
Yeah.
I did direct that play one time.
Yeah. And because my son was just reading it in high school, and I was saying something about the characters. He's like, how do you know? It's not, I'm not like some well-read guy or anything. He's looking at me like,
you're dropping Dr. Treves.
Yeah, Mr. Treves. I am not. And he's looking at me like,
That line's not.
That?
That line's not in the play though.
No, I'm not an animal.
It's actually the screenplay for the movie is entirely different from the play. It's it's about the same person and the same relationship, but it's its own beast entirely.
We had written we called it the what did we call it, the theme or the overture. That's what we called it, right? And later in life, I was like, and I thought I had this. And I can still remember it.
Yeah.
Then it went into the big key change,
That's
right?
very cool.
Right. So, but I thought I had this great idea until I realized, oh no, that was just the overture from The Elephant Man. I didn't really have a lot to do with writing that one. I was just one of the also rans in that composition, but I still remember it now. So.
I had live music. It's not a musical, but I had live music in my production too. I had a saxophonist play along with it, so it was kind of like an extension of the idea of The Elephant Man in a way. And it was really cool.
Yeah.
He did a really great job.
It was a really exciting thing to be a part of. I had a full-time job at the time, so I would leave work and drive into the loop at 3:00 in the afternoon, which is a bad idea from the western suburbs.
Yes.
And I did that every day for 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it was, and then we did however many productions of the show over the course of a week, and then it was lost to history. There's no recording of it. There's no video of it. There's no nothing.
So, and that's a big reason why I've like taken like to songwriting with like a little bit of gusto, is because like I want to, whatever this winds up being, I want a body of work out of it. You know what I mean? And theater was so hard to prove that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had to be like, I mean, it was.
You have a list of credentials, but you don't have anything.
And all you can ever tell anybody is, well, you had to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like
it's the beauty of it,
yes.
but it's also the Achilles of it.
Yes,
So.
And but I mean, I would say I got to a point where I was spending way too much time romanticizing the fact that it was this ephemeral thing. Do you know what I mean? It was like no, there has to be some more concrete.
I would rather have some sort of record of it.
Yes.
So that's awesome. At that same time, so that brings us to the album side of the week. That was so. Wait, what was the title of the song again?
That last song was Charm School.
Charm School. Okay, so in 1987, I graduated from high school, and in 1985, what has now become one of my favorite bands in the whole world had put out their first record, and that was called Will the Wolf Survive? But in 87, this record came out, By the Light of the Moon, by Los Lobos, and they hadn't yet to do La Bamba. They weren't huge, and they had a minor, like what around here we would call a WXRT hit. Was Rosalie. And Set Me Free is actually the title, but is and they played it a lot on XRT, and it kind of got some national airplay, and that's what got me in on buying this record. It has proven to be one of my favorite records over time. Where's the camera there? That is, let me try to get it straight. I'm not really so much of a weatherman. Here, wait, let me get the shot just perfect. Oh, there we go. Now we can't see my ugly mug, but but anyhow, I have a hard time picking a side, but if I had to pick one, I would pick side one, even though Set Me Free, Rosalie is on side two. But side one, One Time, One Night, Shakin', Shakin' Shakes, Is This All There Is, Prenda del Alma. They always put a traditional song in there, and I'm not much with the Spanish so much. Although
I got Spanish in my next song.
A few years ago, I had seen the Los Lobos for the first time in many years at Fitzgerald's, and so then I was working, and I got into a kick where I was listening to it on Spotify, like over and over again, and I just was dipping into some of their oldest stuff, and their first record is actually all in Spanish, and it's very traditional sounding, and my boss was kind of not down with that, the guy that I was working for. He was a little younger than me, and he kind of was not down with that sounds like a Mexican song. It's Drywaller music. Why are you listening to Drywaller music? And I was like,
Drywaller, oh my.
Never mind, man.
Yeah.
So anyways, and let's see, All I Wanted to Do Is Dance. So it's really, I had, for those of you, I have two stories. My friend who was here a couple weeks ago, or in the beginning of January, my friend Chuck Sansoni was in a band in the late 90s. He was a Latin quartet, and he played congas, and they both guitar players played, nylon strings, classical guitars, and then a really great bass player, and then Chuck played congas, and they did like 2 records, and they did pretty well, even in the days of still selling CDs, no streaming service. I think they sold like 20,000-30,000 records, like literally, and they did really well for themselves, and they ended up playing at South by Southwest, where Caesar, the main guy in the middle here, Caesar was at South by Southwest that year and thought they were great because it was like very reminiscent, and they ended up opening for Los Lobos.
Oh, that's amazing.
And they also opened for Caesar on his own, and so I got to see my friend Chuck open for Caesar's band at Double Door, And then Chuck's like, why don't you come backstage? Which at the Double Door, the backstage was a dingy. It was like down in the basement, and it was like.
I've been to the basement of the Double Door.
Have you? So you know what I'm saying. You know exactly. You can picture it exactly. The wooden partition walls were, and it was just a god awful. But the long hallway went all the way down. Well, Lynn Bramer, the morning host on XRT for years and years, who I listen to every day at work, charming, truly had an impact on my life just by being a DJ. But this is whatever, 99. Maybe. Probably around there, late 90s somewhere. And I can see him walking down the hall this way. He's clearly had a couple of cocktails because he's not really walking that straight, but he's known for, having a good time.
Sure.
And he walks up and I go, Lynn, yeah. And I go, I listen to you every day. I think you're completely an amazing person. And I listen every day and I think you're great. And he's like, well, sir, you must be a completely deranged individual. And then he walked off, which I never forgot. And when Chuck was here, I did tell that story a couple weeks ago, and he laughed really hard. He's like, I had forgotten all about that, but he was standing right there. So
never meet your heroes.
I met Lynn Bramer a bunch of times, and he was a tremendous man. He really was.
He was your Lester Bangs.
He was very, I don't know who that is.
Lester Bangs, the rock journalist. And,
okay.
In the movie Almost Famous.
Oh, yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman plays Lester Bangs.
Okay.
And who is a mentor to Cameron Crowe, so that's their story.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, so that was the album side of the week, so please, listen to albums or at least make a playlist, listen to something, or listen to, at the very least, listen to an artist's collection of work in at least a chunk of it, half of it, or a whole album. I try to recommend people do that. If an artist has made an album, they've thought very deeply about what order and how to place the songs and what songs go together. And I can say with the truest of honesty that I just put out a record a couple weeks ago, and I thought deeply about which song leads into the next one and how they string together and how, and it really.
And it's wonderful, by the way, for the people out there.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm getting a lot. People are saying a lot of nice things. Which there's the dose of imposter syndrome, which when for your whole life you try to do stuff and people don't seem to pay much attention, and then suddenly people are saying nice things. Your brain goes,
yeah. But the other half of your brain is like, we've been doing this a while.
Right. Well, yes.
Yeah.
But there's a part of that in your brain where you're like, well, I hope so. But but then the other part is, well, I've done this since 1985 or so, and I don't know, we paid much attention before now. So anyway, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. But I'm not going to do a song off of that record, which I should. But I've done many of them. But recently, I played this song I dusted this off. I wrote this probably 6 years ago now, 7, 2019, 2020. It was before the pandemic for sure. But they had passed this law. I'm kind of a political animal. If that bothers people, I'm sorry. Out there in the world, everyone's entitled to your own opinion, but I am too. And that's just it. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to listen. You can shut this off.
No, I go farther than that. I say if you're not political, you're not paying attention.
Well, I think you sort of have to be. And part of the problem I think that we've come to is a whole bunch of people just choose to bury their head in the sand, and we find ourselves having all these problems. Yeah. And suddenly they pull their heads out of their sand and go, how come it's all messed up? It's because there's been a whole generation of people that refuse to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's a fact. And like it or not, that's the truth. Yeah. And but maybe I don't remember what year it was exactly, but they as part of an effort to suppress certain segments of the vote, they passed a law where you couldn't give somebody a bottle of water in line. Yeah. And it really bugged me.
Yeah, Larry David did a whole season about that.
Right. Yeah. It really bothered me.
Yeah.
And at the time I wrote this song because also, I have family members, through marriage, who, their skin pigment is different than my skin pigment.
Sure.
They're the most wonderful people in the world, but there's a whole class of people who choose to judge them because of the pigment of their skin. Yeah. And that's awful. Yeah. And it bothers me. And even though I grew up with little means and worked very hard. I make no secret of the fact that, like, when I was a teenager, things were very hard in my family. We had no place to live for a while, and things were bad. But I was it took me a long time to understand this, that I was still a white male in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And so with all the difficulty and troubles that I had, it took me a long time to accept this. I still had privilege because of that.
Oh, yeah. And reckoning with that agency later in life is... It's uncomfortable.
It is. It really is.
And it's really necessary if you're going to have any growth at all, though.
It's that's the perfect word, and I've never heard it described exactly like that. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up feeling, because there's like a level of guilt.
Yeah.
Because I didn't ask for that.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, acknowledging the fact that even for how hard it was to achieve many of the things I did, because I came from nothing and I had blah 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 blah, that I still had that advantage.
Yeah.
I was male and I was white, and there's a whole bunch of people who aren't even afforded basic advantages because of they're neither of those.
Oh yeah.
And so I ended up writing this song about as sort of like this isn't. I'm not promoting that this isn't your America. It's called Let's Stop Pretending, and I played it recently, and somebody said you need to play that a lot more, and I kind of shied away from it for a little while, but it's I think it'll kind of speak for itself. Wait, I know what's happening. Sorry, Blue. That's better. Don't have a voice today. It don't matter anyway. No matter what you weigh. Sorry. No matter what you say. Don't matter anyway. This is not your America. This is not your America. No matter how long you wait, they're never gonna listen to you. Doesn't matter 'cause your skin's kinda brown, and everything's turning upside down. Don't matter anyway. This is not your America. 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 You're in a shade of brown. Stop pretending. This is not your America. Opinion, it just don't matter. They'll only try to make you think it does. This is not your America. This is not your America. So the live version would go on, and there's ending solos, and then the keyboard player, and then the...
I insist.
Right, and then and it goes on and back and around.
Yeah.
And it's all... Anyways, but there's a different version, but I haven't played it in a while, and I clearly messed up a few of the words, but you get the gist.
That was wonderful.
And, just everyone should have the right to vote. It shouldn't be that complicated. The truth is that the number of actual cases of voter fraud in the last 3 elections is something like 20 something. Like it's so insignificant. It's
in the double digits.
Yes,
low double digits.
You're right. It's so insignificant. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And everything that they're trying to do, it really is about voter suppression. And if you don't think that it is, you're literally just a fool.
Well,
I'm sorry to say so.
Voter suppression is the opening salvo.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's doing away with the idea entirely.
For those who have not studied history, you are doomed to repeat it.
Yes.
So, I have studied history quite thoroughly.
Good.
So anyway, that's my little. Somebody encouraged me to play that song more frequently, and so I'm trying to because I think it's more necessary to speak up than it ever was. Now,
without a doubt.
Let's see. We did your firsts.
Yeah.
We did. Who would you say is your biggest musical influence? Can you narrow it down to one person, you think?
Narrow it down to one. I mean, there are definitely people that I think are.
How about a top 5? You can just spit out 5.
Yeah, easily 5. In terms of songwriters, Eric Bachman also plays under Crooked Fingers, was originally the frontman for Archers of Loaf, one of those Chapel Hill bands from the 90s. I think he was a punk artist, but he's gone on to be like an amazing songwriter. Like he's on the level of like a Leonard Cohen, but
See, Blue?
Really unsung. Really
right?
Unsung.
Punk writers. It's not just some forgotten genre.
Oh, no, a lot of the songwriters that I love like cut teeth in punk and then and moved into other things. Elliott Smith, I would say that similarly. He came from like Pacific Northwest punk scene and then became really the troubadour of his era. I think. I think he's really, really terrific. I was a very late adopter in life to Bruce Springsteen, but I think I think
we're of a similar generation, and there was a point in the '80s where people who were fans of his before Born in the USA like really got it. If you weren't, and you were like like me, I'm not speaking for you, but I'm guessing, like we were so beat over the head with that stuff at a certain time in life that you were like, I hate this guy.
That is exactly the phenomenon. I thought he was like 4th of July music.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was like, you play this at a barbecue.
Right. Forget it. I don't want to hear this.
Like I didn't listen deeper into the catalog, like the 70s stuff until like I was in my probably early 20s.
Yeah. Late 20s for me.
I remember a friend of mine had Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey on CD. And I looked and I saw that the first track was Blinded by the Light. And I was like, I don't know that I've ever heard, I knew he wrote it, but I didn't know that I had ever heard his version of it. And I played that and it was fine. I just was curious to hear it. And then like Growing Up is the next song. And I was like,
oh my gosh. Right.
And that's a song I had heard before too, but like just listen with new ears. And I was like,
never in the context.
This is so fucking amazing. Yep. And then the whole album is just so lyrically complex, dense, moves like lightning. It's so
one of my
great.
favorite songs in the whole world is Thunder Road.
Oh, yeah,
and I didn't even listen to that stuff until a guy that I worked with had grown up on the East Coast and was maybe 10 or 15 years older than me. And so in my mid 20s he was like approaching 40 and always wanted to do a bunch of Bruce Springsteen. And I'm he's like, I need a bass player, and bass is kind of my primary instrument, or is my primary instrument. So at the time I was like, well, I could help you, but I don't know if I like the stuff. He's like, we're doing all the early stuff. Have you ever listened to it? I'm like, yeah, I've heard it. And then when I really dug in, then I was like, oh, now I understand. Now I understand. And then I was able to listen to the other stuff with new ears.
Yes.
And have a better context of, even though I heard it so many times, I could hear it with the benefit of understanding what led to it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Have you seen the new movie?
Yes.
It's I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I think it kind of, it was sort of, maligned or at least kind of like lukewarmly received. But I thought he did great.
Yeah.
I don't love that director honestly, but I think he did a good job with that movie. And Jerry Allen Miller is great.
I just remember hearing this is the story of him writing Nebraska, and my brain went. So it's him in a bedroom for 2 hours? Like, because I know he did the whole album in a bedroom on a 4-track. So what is this movie really going to be about? But it really, I really enjoyed it as a person who writes about mental health issues and digging deep into unpeeling the onion of the complexity of my childhood and not understanding why I'm so messed up.
I mean, I think it's a really lovely movie. And it's a really solid performance and yeah, I'm sad that it didn't seem to get his fair shake, but it's but the thing that I love from him the most, and like and I would say, in songwriting, where he informed me the most, was that that Springsteen on Broadway thing that happened, almost 10 years ago at this point, and he. And then, so I didn't see it on Broadway, but Netflix, I think, released it, or HBO.
Yeah, I saw a couple of tracks in that.
I just thought that was such a beautiful piece. Like,
he's just sitting in a chair, right? Just
really,
singing the tunes acoustically and explaining them.
He does some piano too, and then like he brings out a couple like he brought his wife out for one, and I think he was known.
I saw parts of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
To bring out some other guests from time to time, apparently, but it was so. Great. I mean, it was just such a distillation of voice, instrument and just what he can do lyrically.
A pure accounting of what he did, and gives you the perspective of this is what it sounds like when it's in its infancy.
Oh yeah.
And then he takes that and creates these other visions out of it.
Yes, and then with the added value of like him it was a very kind of. It was looking backward. There were narrative things between that. I think he lifted a lot from like his autobiography. Mm-hmm. But I just think it was just very really beautifully sequenced, and every song had it was just like a slightly different arrangement. Mm-hmm. To even the Born in the USA that he does in that is a vastly different arrangement.
Which
very and
you have to imagine had to occur over time of playing these songs for years and kind of they morph into things as you're I'm sure you're learning. You play a song for a while, it starts to morph into something else even without even trying.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it really does. But Born in the USA is really resonant on that because I mean, as produced on the album, it's a very kind of saccharine, very polished sound.
It's a pop song,
and he plays it with
the original demo version is super dark
and danger because that is what the song is.
Yes,
and I remember somebody, somebody I know and am related to, saying before who is not simpatico with my view of the world. Saying, he was like, "What's your favorite patriotic song?" I'll start. Born in the USA.
Right.
I was like, you have not listened to that song.
Right. Have you ever listened to the words? Right. Have you ever listened to the words? Right. Okay, you win.
Yeah. You are not on the same page, my friend.
No, that's when you just go, oh, yeah, no, totally. You're totally right. You win.
Yes.
You've won the competition, sir.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, we're clearly having a good time because we're only halfway through. So, do you have any events or anything you need to promote? Do you have anything coming up?
The next like gig I got is going to be at Black Dog Vinyl on April 30th. I'm part of a singer show, a showcase, Mr. Rees.
Oh, right on. Yeah. He's been on the show and he's friends with. That's cool.
So I'll be doing that on April 30th. They've changed the date once already, so I'm waiting for I'm hoping a third shoe doesn't fall. So.
April 30th, is that a
It's a Thursday.
It is a Thursday.
Yeah, it's a Thursday night.
The Saturday before that, we're doing a mobile live stream from there with Colleen.
Yeah,
Wild.
you just
we did one there. Yeah.
That's
right. The next one's in April, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
You got another song for the folks?
I do, and and as I mentioned, this is this one contains Spanish, so on both the.
I'll look it up. I don't know.
On both the on the Los Lobos front, and so this song is where my wife grew up in the Southwest, in a very, very remote part of New Mexico. And so this song's about, or, takes place in the lore of, like, what she's told me about, her life and her mom's, her family's life and her mom's life. And and my wife is of Mexican descent, so that last song that you played,
Yes,
resonates very heavily with
my
me.
grandchildren are the same.
Yeah,
So my children's in-laws are the kindest, most generous, hardworking people you could ever run across, and to be judged just simply because of their skin just makes me crazy.
It's you would think this wouldn't even be a conversation anymore,
Right?
But it is the conversation,
right?
So
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. So this one's called La Llorona. She was a child bride, promised to Spider, since her first Holy Communion procession on the shoulder of Route 66. Queen of the highway, Georgia O'Keeffe sky, where she's pretty as a postcard, the rose of Santa Rosa, the heiress apparent. Encantadora. Family business runs in the bloodline, with persimmon orchard acreage, the truck stop, ice cream parlor, and empire in nowhere. Mixing up milkshakes, hooked on Ms. Pac-Man. She puts Yoko on the jukebox and sneaks a secret chapter of Harlequin romance. Ooh, encantadora. La Llorona no nos dejes ahogar. La Llorona, tus lágrimas son el mar. West of the desert, Georgia O'Keeffe skulls, where the innocent and elder broke down on the shoulder of Route 66. After the horror, there's more to the story, where they gather to remember the rainbow in the graveyard. She screams through her eyes. La Llorona, no nos dejes ahogar. La Llorona, tus lágrimas son el mar. Encantadora. So she leaves the tragic memory in a shattered rearview mirror and drives for the state line. La Llorona, no nos dejes ahogar. La Llorona, tus lágrimas son el mar. La Llorona no nos dejes ahogar. La Llorona, tus lágrimas son el mar.
Yay!
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
My son was in bilingual, like he in the town we live in is a heavy Latino community.
Yeah.
And they had one of the elementary schools in the district had a bilingual elementary school program, and we had him as part of that when he was really little, and he's very fluent in Spanish, although he pretends like he's not.
Yeah.
Now that he's in high school.
Yeah.
And my favorite, I don't know any Spanish.
And I am not. So I should say I just wrote a song.
Yeah. But even right, but like I always wish that I was better at it or that I understood it, and my brain is like, I'd like to learn it, but I got a lot of things going on.
And my wife doesn't speak either, but she understands a lot of it. Her father's a native speaker, and her mom knows a lot too. But she's Spanish and Mexican, so she's got it from both sides. But they were not a Spanish-speaking household growing up.
Well, it's interesting, in this area, like I said, there's a lot of heavy Latino businesses. I've told the story a zillion times. It's one of my favorites. My son is got his mother's complexion, very pale, like white, like skin, and when he was little, he had blonde hair. Right. The Irish, skin pigment, and well, we used to go to this.
We're pink as hell.
Right. We used to go to this ice cream shop. They made like old fashioned ice cream. It was really great. But everybody in there spoke Spanish. Yeah. Like they could speak English, but when we went in there, most of the community was speaking Spanish.
But if you wanted the good stuff, you ordered in Spanish.
Well, Jack was the youngest out of my kids, and he was the smallest, and he was first in line. Well, in school, he was maybe first or second grade or whatever. So he had been in kindergarten and first grade, and knew enough. And so when it was his turn to speak, and when he speaks, he has no like accent. Like he uses the words phonetically correctly, whereas he makes fun of his mother, who has been working on Spanish. Says you sound like a white person. That's what he says to his mom. But he doesn't say so much anymore.
Guilty as charged.
He used to say that when he was younger or whatever. Yeah. But he was the first one in line, and he started ordering, but he was ordering in Spanish. Yeah. And I just remember the woman going. Like her brain was like looking at this little blonde-haired, fair-skinned kid, and the words that were coming out. I saw her head do like a, and then she took his order, and then my next is.
To be fair, he was ordering dulce de leche, so
his sister,
half the order was done for him.
Right, his sister went, "I don't speak Spanish," and the mom was like, "Oh, okay." He goes to the Spanish-speaking school over there.
Your expectations may have been raised, but allow me to dash them forthwith.
Right. So that was, and I'm sure Jack is like so sick of me telling that story, but for sure,
that's a good one.
Yeah. It was so funny, like, because the woman, I swear, I will never forget the look on her face, like, I've been here all day. I don't think, it looks like that little white kid speaking Spanish, like, very, very well. Like you could totally see the look on her face like that. It was really funny, so, anyhow.
Did I lick a toad earlier?
What happened, right? What is going on? You could just see the confusion on her face. It took her a good second or two to really, like, process what was happening. Quite funny. So, all right. So the big serious, I used to say, what is your why? So why do you think? What drew you to? You sort of already touched on it, but the writing.
Yeah, I mean,
did you write like you? Okay, so you were in. Did you write plays on your own, or were you just mostly producing?
I dabbled in playwriting a little, but
directing,
I was never. I was mostly a director, but I helped develop a lot of plays in that way. Not that I was, not that I was like doing any ghostwriting or anything like that. I wrote a couple of short things of myself that I don't have the discipline of a playwright. A playwright is, has to undergo a lot of things. And so part of what created the conditions for this is that I was working in a very collaborative art form and a very language forward art form too. So so much of what I would do is like, really put text under a microscope and like just really try to wring it of meaning and then to activate it. That's what you do with actors when you're working on a play and you're trying to get the text and the actor.
Well, but
it
is the same in songwriting though.
Yep.
If you do it right, like,
Yep.
I shouldn't say if you do it right, but like you get the most out of whatever word you're using,
Yes.
and you're using melody
Yep.
and emotion. Like, but
Yes.
in acting, I know enough about being part of productions, never
Yes.
necessarily acting in them, to know that the good actors, like, they're finding the emotion with expression
Yeah.
and body language and conveying those things, and that's similar to figuring out how to get it out of melody
It is.
and instrumentation and how to get an audience to draw them in. You were describing like playing that song and doing the fade out, like one of the truest ways to, if you really want to get an audience to start listening, actually don't play louder, play quieter.
Yeah, stillness is power.
The quieter you play, and when you'll hear the room all of a sudden kind of go,
yeah,
what's going on?
I should have been listening to this all along.
I should have been listening, right? There's something important happening.
That's a good trick.
It totally works.
But to tell you, I have to round out my top 5 from before, so I'll just do this real quick. I would say, just in terms of songwriting, I love PJ Harvey. I think that her, just how compact she can write, and just the sound, and beyond songwriting, just the sound she gets out of her small frame just kills me, and I think it's amazing. And like a songwriter that I don't emulate in any way because I do not have his musicianship, but I mean, so this is more like a pantheon one, would have to be Stevie Wonder, because that's just, I mean,
sure.
I don't think there's anybody living who's kind of explored as much as he's been able to, and his 70s albums too. I mean, just to talk, like it didn't dawn on me until much more recently what a social artist he was, and what a political animal like that run of those 70s albums really was, and it's
pushing the boundaries of recording and engineering and technology and like all of those things simultaneously.
Yes. I mean, he's just, and that's a Michelangelo level person, that still lives. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. I hope I get a chance to see him at some point. I don't know to what extent he's still going to be able to tour or whatever, but but that's an all-time thing, and that's a regret that I haven't sought that out earlier in life. But anyway, it's just to round that out. But to answer your next question, so yeah, what I like about songwriting is that it calls upon a lot of the skills that I would use in theater, both as a performer and then really kind of as, what I think is much more, about, an excavation of just like, what do words serve and how do they travel and how do they exist in the air? You know what I mean? Not to get too highfalutin about it, but it's the, but like, how do words carry? You know what I mean? And really great plays, I think, are things that like carry, like sing in a way, and while not like beholden to a melody per se, if you're doing it correctly, there kind of is one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're really, really getting in tune with what the playwright has laid down, you're playing the music of it. You know what I mean? So that is that. So I've always, loved that as, that's always been a fixation of mine. And so when I stopped doing theater, just because of, diminishing returns,
Life,
really.
right.
Yeah. And then I was doing this again. I felt that analog was really natural. And, but what I loved most about it, just, again, like the fact that there would be a record of it, is that the paper, I was working a very collaborative art form where you really depended on everybody else to like show up and be in the right mood and like, you know what I mean? And to make it all happen. And then not to mention just anytime you want to create anything, the universe just stacks up a bunch of obstacles that weren't there before you said you wanted to do it. You know what I mean? So so you're always managing that shit, but to me, the most attractive thing about it was like the paper chain is me, myself, and I. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I can write this, I can make it, I can record it, I can sing it out, and the only person I really have to consult is myself, or to like ask my wife.
Significant others.
Can I,
Right. Yeah.
Can I go to the open mic on Wednesday night?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But working to connect with.
She's very supportive, I should say, especially if she's watching.
Sure. Well, but without a doubt, you need the support of people, or at least the space to do what you're trying to do. And I think, for me, I started writing when I was young and performing, and there was this sort of, the typical stuff for kids where you're not even really sure why you're doing it. Maybe it's to try to get a date, or or better, than that, or or whatever. But on some level, it very quickly turns into like there's this drive. I can just remember staying up all night when I was 19 to complete an idea, and it was the first time where I had lost all concept of time. And pretty soon I looked, and the sun was coming up, and my brain couldn't comprehend that I had just spent however many hours trying to create on a 4-track cassette recorder in 1988 or whatever it was.
You and Springsteen.
Yeah, right. But it was literally the same type of thing that they used in the movie that I had in the late 80s, which 10 years earlier was the state of the art in home recording.
Yes.
And trying to complete this idea and program a simple drum machine to do these couple of changes, and then get it right and the right number of measures, and then track that in, and then play a bass part in my headphones in my little apartment, because we had this apartment at that point, but I couldn't make too much noise, so I was playing a bass, and I couldn't strum or sing yet, and then wait, and then sleep for an hour and a half, and then everybody went to work, and the building was practically empty, and then I could make some more noise.
That's cool.
And but that's the kind of stuff where that wasn't to get laid. That was like the drive to create a piece of art, and once the vision formed in my head, it had to be completed, or I would die.
That's a really clear, great way of putting it, and I would think, like, if I it's the obsession to complete something, and
just see,
and then you have to bargain with yourself when you say that it's complete, if it truly is.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a more modern, like a hang up, because with technology and stuff, you can keep going and keep going and keep going and keep adding to it. Yeah. Whereas back then, there was a point where it was like, well, like there's no more space, or there's no, it becomes truly diminishing returns, because if I bounce this one more time, the sound quality of that track is going to be so bad that I don't want to do that again.
No, so I mean, in ways it just forced you. It was much more of a lightning in the bottle, like.
Well, and they used to talk about mixing like famous songs on the mixing console. They would get like 10 people, and like your job is to pan that from left to right at this point, and then at this point you have to fade that down to here, and they would do all that automated mixing stuff, but they would do it by humans, and it was like, well, there's only 8 of us, and so there's only this many things, so I guess this is as far as we can take this. Now we're getting too far out in the weeds, so let's simplify it and make it. And whereas nowadays with the computers, and you can just keep adding and add another track and do another thing, and sometimes it just needs to be done.
Yes. I mean, like, I don't have much experience recording anyway, so I can't really speak to that with specificity. But I mean, we're in a period of things being like really overwrought. I think particularly in pop music, but it's but I also but the democratization of that technology has made it so that, like, you can any punk band can
make a record,
really do it now. You know what I mean? With their phone, for fuck's sake. It's also that's great. But I mean, with the democratization of any technology,
you get the good, but you get the bad.
There's a weird, unpredictable shadow energy that's going to come out of it too, and you never know.
Shadow energy. I think I was in that band. 87, 88 maybe. It sounds like an 80s band.
I liked your early stuff.
It wasn't so much a shadow energy as it was just
once you brought Bob Rock on, producer.
no, that was bad. That was a bad decision. It was an entirely bad decision. But anyway, this was a delight. I'm sure that we could talk for much longer, but we've been going for a while now. So I think that brings us to well, first of all, thank you, Blue, for Josette is at school right now, getting advanced education. But Blue was kind enough to drop over this week. I said, hey, we've been out of practice. I'm going to do a stream. Are you free? I hope so. so he was.
And it was flawless.
It was great. Thank you, Blue. And I think it's time for Dumb Joke of the Day. Oh, the Fred is on my desk over there. Would you grab that? Oh, you're the best, buddy. So, Fred, the Screaming Goat. I think this is the one. When I was like, what am I forgetting? It was this. We got to do a goat check. Come on.
Oh, he makes a noise.
All right. Not the Screaming Goat. So, this is from Richard W. Conter? Conter. And that is a real person. That's not a made-up name.
He's a real person.
Blue says that's a real person. And you said he was a banjo player, right? Ukulele player. That was a joke. See, did you get that? That was a joke. Did you get that? He's a banjo player. All right, so let's see. Now the fun, I used to write these jokes and pretend like I didn't know the punchline. Now the fun is Blue writes a joke, and I really don't know the punchline. Sometimes I can't even read the writing, and that's not his fault. That's just because I'm practically illiterate.
We're going in
cold. Right. What is the difference between a ukulele player and a savings bond? Correct? What is the difference between a ukulele player and a savings bond? And you're supposed to say, I don't know.
I'm stumped. I don't know.
Okay. One will mature and make money. Oh, wait.
Twee and poor.
It's sort of like the accordion rule. Is there limit one per family? Is that what it is?
Oh, I always heard it as a gentleman is someone who knows how to play the accordion but doesn't.
That's good. Now I might have told this on the show. I don't know if I have. My dad lived. He was down here for a long time, but he went back to where he grew up, which is about an hour outside of Detroit. It's pretty rural, and they did a lot of sitting in the garage and playing cards and drinking beer and listening to Bob Seger on 8-track, right? But he had a friend, his friend Hank, who loved to play the accordion, and if Hank got about 4, 5, 6 beers in, he'd drag the suitcase out and open it up. All right, what do you guys want to hear? And pretty soon you're rolling out the barrel for
I love the sound of the accordion. Honestly,
I used to play, and I'll finish with this just as a memory. I used to play at 3030 North Racine. They have, speaking of Lynn Bramer, he was the master of ceremonies. There's a bar there that's a Wisconsin-themed bar called Will's Northwoods Inn. And every fall, they would have Muskie Fest. And they would crown the Muskie Queen. And
really?
And it was this big thing. And long story, and for probably at least 7 or 8, maybe even 10 years, like I was on the bill.
Yeah.
Early in the day, but I was on the bill. But it was a huge thing. They would shut down the whole block, and it would turn by the end of the night. And it was emceed by Lynn Bramer, and by the end of the night, I mean, it was roaring.
Yeah.
On the other side of the bar, the other side of the building, they had like a courtyard. A couple of times I went to the other side, and they got like 3 old Polish dudes, like a drummer and a bass player and an accordion player.
Yeah.
And way more entertaining than anything going on the rock stage. I'm not even joking.
No,
like, it was like, oh, this is where the party is.
Yes,
Those 3 old dudes could play, man.
Yeah.
Like they could, and they clearly could drink because they would just play, and people would buy them like whatever shots of whatever the heck they were drinking, and they just keep going and keep going again. It's like, this is the secret to this. This is the party.
Yeah.
They were a great time, and it was the most fun I ever had listening to music. And I would have never thought that because I had a hard memory of Hank in my dad's garage.
But was that the bar in Racine that had like the big moose in the courtyard?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember that place.
Yeah. It's like right on the corner of like Racine and I don't remember the side street, but they would close down.
Yeah, but it was just south of Belmont.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I used to there was a theater. There were a couple of theaters on Belmont there that I worked at in various capacities, and I used to try to get. And parking on Belmont was harder, so I used to try to park on Racine, and I would usually park in front of the big.
Well, Belmont's what, 3,200? Yeah, totally.
And
right on.
I remember that place.
Right.
Yeah,
those of us of a certain age remember our way around the city by the
by the bars. That was what I was
the street and the street numbers 2,400, 3,200.
I was gonna say I was like I at first I didn't place the name of the bar, and I was thinking of the address that you said, and I was like, I used to pride myself on knowing every single bar in Chicago. Like I really, really did. Anytime anybody said there's a bar on the, and they were always trying to place it, I was Gingers. Like it's like.
My sister is good at, or my sister, for a while, like I would say, oh, I'm playing at this place, and she would go, wait, is that the place that fill in the blank? I go, yeah. And she goes, I've been there.
Yeah.
Of course you have.
I wound up there.
Right.
That's
God bless my sister Kim. Yeah. I could be playing in any dark bar, and if she shows up, she'll yell, "Oh, all right," from the back. I don't know, my sister's there. It doesn't matter. So, anyways, yeah. Thank you. This was a delight. Yeah. Absolutely a pleasure. Same. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have a website or anything that just?
No, I post myself on Instagram. I'm on Substack at erin23 band. I put the band on the end to make it seem like it was music, but I think that confuses people too. And then a sort of not, an aspiration is like, I would hope to ultimately collaborate with some music, like have a power trio.
Oh, you got time.
Like that. Yeah,
that's good.
So I do envision some of these songs having like, a little bit more of a backline to
sure.
It. But sure. but right now I'm playing as.
Well, I think it's great that you're doing it, and I think it's great that the number of people who think to do this but never do is much higher than before. So, congratulations on seeing it through and continue.
And likewise with this format, I think that this is I think it's unique. It's really cool. I mean, like watching several episodes of it, it was like, wouldn't it be interesting to like see this format with like Elvis Costello and Neil Young doing it or something like that? You know what I mean?
Well, let's give him a call.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that we get a few.
Get him in here.
There'd be more than 7,000 viewers. We might be in the area of 700,000.
But then Neil Young would get like, would be mad at YouTube about something and he'd make you take it down.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong about that in any way. Maybe Neil Young's not the choice. Somebody.
Although,
you could probably get a few viewers anyways. I appreciate it. So, all right. So I am going to try to do another one next week. I don't really have a guest, but now that I have everything set up, I'll just leave it set up because I got nothing else going on. So maybe we'll try and do another couple. And then tomorrow night I'm playing at, what did I say it was called? Stray Bar in Frankfurt? Stray Bar.
Yeah.
Stray Bar in Frankfurt. I'm doing a writers round with it's hosted by Patrick Spiroff, who's great, and then my friend Kenny P. Mitchell and myself, and the three of us are going to just do a writers round all night, which is a great format. I love doing that with Patrick.
Yeah.
And then
I've done that with him at the
Chicago Street.
Yeah, Joliet.
Yeah, Chicago Street Pub.
Yeah, I like that format a lot.
It's a lot of fun, and Patrick's a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
Kenny,
very good songwriter.
I play bass in Kenny P. Mitchell's band, and we're doing an episode of The Bunker in a couple weeks, so I for sure won't be on that Thursday night. And then what else? I don't know if I have too much else right now. And then April 20, I think it's the 26th, the last Saturday in April, we're doing the remote live stream again from Black Dog Vinyl, so we hope you tune in for that, and we'll do the live concert series with Colleen Wilde. So that'll be fun. So thank you all. Thank you, Blue. Oh, wait, unmute. Good night, everybody.